Frieda stares at Karl Fritz in total silence. Her mind is overwhelmed with emotions, fear, shock, and confusion, but above all, rage. Rage and hatred towards the man responsible for everything. She begins screaming at Karl, venting all the anger she's felt, all the sleepless nights, all the mental trauma, all of her predecessors being enslaved by the vow, and all of the suffering caused by him stopping them from fighting. But Karl walks slowly towards her, not acknowledging a word she said. To be clear, this isn't Karl Fritz, but a manifestation of the king's vow, the same one that's been taking over Frieda. He couldn't respond, even if he wanted to. Karl now stands directly in front of Frieda, looking down on her, again not saying a word. He places his index finger on Frieda's forehead, causing her to black out. When she comes to, she sees a younger Rod, pleading with his father to fight back against the world. Later we see Uri doing the same thing, and next we see a younger Frieda, pleading with Uri as well. But as she speaks, she slowly morphs into Karl Fritz, this time begging his father to stop fighting, to stop the killing. And just like Uri, Rod, and Frieda, his plea is rejected. Karl Fritz felt trapped. Everyone around him relished war, while he alone despised it. He swears to himself that once he inherits the founding titan, he'll change everything. But when the moment arrives, he realizes he's powerless. Try as he might, he can't lift Ymir's curse. She's waiting for someone else, not him. And if he can't lift the curse, then everything he does is pointless. Even if he brings peace to the entire world, in 13 years, whoever succeeds him can easily reignite the conflicts. We see Karl in the depths of despair. He's finally inherited the founding titan. In theory, he has the ultimate power, but he's even more helpless than before he got it. And it's when Karl reaches rock bottom that he has a breakthrough, a way to end the Eldian Empire, and guarantee that whoever succeeds him doesn't undo his work. And as he begins his plan, the memories loop back to the beginning, with Karl pleading with his father again. But this time, as Frieda watches, she sees herself pleading with Karl's father. It appears that she's been substituted into Karl's place. She now unconsciously perceives those memories as her own. The memories continue, with Frieda substituting herself into Karl's place in each moment, before it loops back to the beginning. But on the third loop, she now experiences the memories from the first person, no longer an observer, but instead experiencing it all for the first time. Frieda is being consumed by the king's vow, her consciousness fusing with Karl Fritz. She feels her past, her emotions, and all of her dreams being wiped away, all being replaced with Karl's memories, emotions, and his singular desire to create a paradise. But one thing Frieda has that Karl hadn't accounted for was knowledge. Unlike all those who came before her, who knew nothing outside of the memories they inherited, Frieda, thanks to meeting Grisha, knows the truth, and she vehemently rejects Karl's worldview. And it's in this moment we find out whether Frieda can break the king's vow. Kenny's standoff with the MPs is interrupted by a massive amount of steam emitting from Frieda's wounds, which heals it instantly. Frieda opens her eyes and glares at Kenny. Before he can react, she does a partial transformation, blowing him away and burning his skin. Before he lands, he's grabbed out of the air by Frieda. He's been in this situation before with Uri, but this time he's crushed without hesitation. And we see a slight smile from Frieda as Kenny's blood oozes across her titan's arm. She detaches herself from the titan and looks towards the stunned scouts, all of whom are pointing their guns at her, but unsure on whether they should fire or hold their position. Oluo bursts through the door and demands to face Kenny one-on-one. Frieda calmly greets him and points him towards Kenny's remains. Frieda sits down and begins speaking, not to Oluo or the scouts, but to herself, lamenting how everything is broken, and that it's been broken from the beginning. She just chose not to see it. This paradise is a failure. Frieda points at Oluo before asking him what he and the scouts seek to gain from exploring beyond the walls. Oluo answers that anything is better than the cramped walls. Frieda responds with another question. What if he knew the outside world was even worse? Would he continue fighting? Oluo hesitates. He's never thought about that before. Frieda sees his hesitation and begins speaking to herself again, lamenting on how her failure is pushing everyone to take take drastic action out of desperation. Frieda declares that she'll rebuild this world from scratch, only this time it will be perfect. There will be no more need to fight or to explore beyond the walls, because life inside the walls will be truly a bliss. Oluo shouts at the scouts to fire before Frieda can erase their memories. While this is happening, the battle within the chapel rages on. Reiner is sprinting towards the exit, and Eren stands in his way. The armored titan is much heavier than the attack titan, so when they meet, Reiner smashes Eren into the crystal walls. Eren tries to kick Reiner off of him, but Reiner grabs, then swings Eren by his foot before smashing him into the floor. The scouts focus their attention on Ani, as they can actually damage the female titan. Erwin orders Gunther, Eld, and Petra to engage, while the rest of them take position by the exit. Erwin recognizes that, regardless of the armored titan's strength, if its wielder hopes to escape, it needs to exit its titan to fit through the door. And since they now hold the exit, they can hold out indefinitely. Ymir's jaw titan, due to its smaller size, took more damage from the Survey Corps' initial attack, but now Ymir is healed and ready to rejoin the fight. At first, Ymir is more focused on finding Frieda's location, as from her perspective, Frieda has disappeared. But then she sees Eren getting pummeled by the armored titan and knows Frieda won't accept Eren dying. So just like before, she moves to ambush the armored titan. Once again, she targets the eyes, blinding Reiner again. Before she slashes through the armor protecting his nape, Ymir leaps away before Reiner can counterattack. Sensing an opportunity, Eren lands a strike on Reiner's nape. He breaks his hand in the process, but because the armor protecting Reiner's nape was compromised, it now completely shatters. For the first time in the battle, Reiner is vulnerable. He's both blinded and his nape is exposed. Reiner, having a general knowledge of where Eren is, tackles him into the floor before unloading a flurry of punches that slowly bash Eren's skull in. Erwin commands Nanaba and Gelgar to bring the armored titan down, for it can kill Eren. But then the world comes to a stop. The warriors, Eren and Ymir, feel an intense surge of energy that nearly knocks them out. Each one recognizes who's behind it, but they're all powerless to resist. The scouts all fall unconscious, and we see Erwin desperately trying to maintain consciousness, trying to hold on to his father's memories before he too passes out. Mikasa is inside the chapel with her ear pressed to the door, trying to figure out what's going on outside. From her perspective, 1 minute Oluo was shouting, and the next complete silence. She opens the door just a little and sees her comrades all unconscious, with Frieda standing alone. Mikasa shuts the door as Frieda was looking in the chapel's direction, but it's futile as Frieda commands her to show herself. She slowly steps outside with her blades drawn. When Frieda sees Mikasa, her tone softens a bit, and she reassures her that she just wants to talk. But Mikasa remains on guard, ready to attack, until Frieda gives her an offer that leaves her stunned. How would she like to return to Shiganshina and live there with Eren? If you're still wondering, Frieda has lost to Karl Fritz's will and has been consumed by the king's vow. But the Frieda that emerged is different from Uri and the others because of her ability to resist her strongest emotions, such as her hatred towards Kenny, and especially her belief that Karl's paradise was a failure, seep through and affect the vow. Karl Fritz understands where she's coming from and recognizes the paradise he built was a failure, but rather than addressing the faults, he doubles down and begins rebuilding it so it better fits what he envisioned from the start. Inside the chapel, we see the Titan Shifters stumbling to their feet. They were unaffected by the scream. Eren, due to his injuries, is unable to stand up and needs time to heal. For the warriors, this was a miracle. All of their enemies have been taken out. For Ymir, this was a tragedy. She's failed at saving her friends. But regardless of how they interpret the events, the race now resumes. Who can get to Frieda first?